All right, today we're going to talk solar. I've noticed that there's a lot of videos out there that people are not necessarily giving the right information, not necessarily wrong, but as far as I'm concerned, not the right setup. What I'm going to talk about here is a small solar setup. It's going to be basically a 12 volt system, okay, for people that not necessarily are going to be living full time or in a big camper, something like that. Strictly 12 volt situation with no 110 AC applications coming from your solar setup. Inverters are not cheap, but most of the other items in a solar setup are inexpensive or can be inexpensive. They can always be expensive if you want to spend a lot of money, but what does it get you? Not always what you're expecting. This situation is going to be for, let's say, an occasional user, weekly or monthly, every now and then, like a camper, a small camper or RV user that doesn't live in their camper, although with this setup they can. Again, you're not going to be dealing with 110. Where I do use some 110 in situations as needed, for one thing, air conditioning. Solar setups with air conditioning in something small like this, a camping situation for just occasional use, there's no call for trying to go solar with that. The expense becomes way up there. For me to run my air conditioner in my base camp here, I would have to spend more money on solar and batteries and inverters, stuff like that, than the cost of the trailer itself. No, not going to do that. As far as 12 volt goes with my solar, I get enough power from that to run my refrigerator. 12 volt. All of my lighting is LED. Plenty of power for that. Also have plenty of power to charge my laptops, phones, and many other USB type and 12 volt items. Let's start with setup. Okay, what we're going to do is start from the solar panels. Well, actually they all work together, but let's start with the solar panels. I've got a 100-watt solar panel, found it online. Mighty Max sold it. At the time it was on sale for $80 for a 100-watt panel. Polycrystalline. Now people say, oh, monocrystalline is the way to go. Don't believe them. Don't believe them. You're not going to get that much difference between a polycrystalline and a monocrystalline. And lately, it's with the tests that I've seen done, most of the polys are coming out where they're even more efficient than the monocrystallines. But so I wouldn't worry between monocrystalline and polycrystalline. Just don't worry about it. Find you a good solar panel, good being 100 watt or more solar panel, solid. Flexible technology is not the way to go right now. I know it's very easy to mount. You can put it on a surface that's not flat and all this kind of stuff, but technology hasn't proven to be durable. Most people that have purchased flexible panels have had to replace them. Most people that have purchased the hard panels or the glass panels with the aluminum edging, yes, they weigh a little bit more, they're flat, but they don't go bad. The only thing that you're going to run into situations with a panel like that is something busting it. They don't break easy, but they can be busted. You have it on top of your camper, or you're using it out, you've got it set up out in the sun, and a limb falls off of a tree, and I'm not talking a small limb, I'm talking a branch or something a couple of inches. Yeah, they fall out of the tree, and you're glad it didn't hit you in the head, but it can break a solar panel. But solar panels don't usually just go dead. Most of them are guaranteed, or they're going to last in the 25-year range. And they're just saying that because, well, after 25 years, who knows what's going to happen. But they work, and they keep working, okay? Now, get you a good panel. Mine was $80, 100-watt panel, okay? Now, with one panel, you're going to be dealing with, say, a 12-volt setup. Going from the panel, you're going to go to a charge controller. Okay? A charge controller, there are two types out there, MPPT and PWM. PWM, very inexpensive. MPPT, very expensive. Okay? MPPT is able to squeeze the most energy out of a multiple panel setup. Okay, that being, you can hook multiple panels in series, which means you can up the voltage going to your charge controller. I'm saying up the voltage, you can go up to 100, 150, 200 volts out of multiple panels. If you hook them up in series, you can increase the voltage. Well, let's just say that with a small setup, single panel, PWM and MPPT, you're not going to notice that much difference in efficiency. There won't hardly be any, 1 to 2% maybe. So there is no need to spend the exorbitant amounts difference-wise between the PWM and the MPPT. My PWM 30 amp controller, Chinese, yes, $9.95 delivered, but it does everything that I need it to do. Not a lot of bells and whistles, but it does what it's supposed to do. I can set up multiple types of batteries, multiple types of panels, whatever. It'll take the voltage in, it'll do what you need done, and it'll put out to your batteries and charge your batteries. Okay? Third item that's going to be required, and these are the only 3 items that you really have to have. Solar panel, charge controller, and batteries. Okay? Batteries. Lithium ions are wonderful. They're expensive, but they are wonderful. Prices have been coming down lately. With a 100-watt panel, a 100 amp hour lithium battery is perfect scenario. But when you're talking a 100 amp hour lithium battery, you're talking in the price range of $800 to $1,200 just for one battery. No, that's out of range for me. I've gone with AGM gel batteries. I can get a 35 amp hour battery for $65 delivered. Okay? Now that 35 amp hours in a lead acid situation, which is your AGM, your gel, or whatever, it says 35 amp hour. It's not the same as a 35 amp hour lithium. 35 amp hour gel, you're only able to use safely half of the amp hours that are listed. Okay? So in a 35 amp hour AGM gel lead acid battery, you're only going to figure 17 and a half amp hours of usable amp hours. You don't want to take it below that because that's detrimental to your battery. So what I've done is ended up purchasing 2 of the AGM 35 amp hour batteries. $65 times 2 is $130. And I've got a full 35 amp hours of usable energy. So far, that has worked perfect for me. Okay? With that setup, I'm able to run all of the 12 volt items that I've got in here. My cooler, freezer, refrigerator, 24/7. Now that runs 24/7. As a matter of fact, I leave it running right here in the driveway. Now there's a couple of accessories that I have, and I'll be showing you these in a second. You're going to need cabling, yes. You're going to need fuses or circuit breakers. I've gone with the circuit breakers. And that's basically it. That's basically it. Talking one more situation with your solar panels and solar setup. I've noticed that a lot of people showing solar setups will have a charge controller. Now, charge controller, a lot of them have three types of inputs or outputs. You've got your solar panel connector, you've got your battery connector, then you've got a load connector. A lot of people don't use that load connector. They're all interested in, a whole bunch of these people that have videos out there talking about off-grid and these huge RVs and things like that where they want to run their 110. They don't use that load output, okay? There's a big, huge disadvantage to not using that load output for your 12 volt situation. That is a monitored output. Even on my little $10 charge controller, it's a monitored output. It monitors your batteries. It will not allow you to go below a certain level of usage in your batteries. If you do that, if you take your batteries down too low, as a matter of fact, if you take them under like 2 volts, you can't recharge them. They're dead. You've killed your batteries. And I don't mean they're just dead and you have to recharge them. I mean you've killed them and they won't charge again. Okay? My 12 volt, all of my 12 volt needs come from the load output from my charge controller. Okay? That means I'm protecting my batteries. Right now, that's the most expensive part of my solar setup. My batteries, $130. Do I want to let those die? No. Do I want to kill them? No. If you kill them, you can actually kill it to the point that you can't recharge it. And even if you can recharge it, by bringing it down too low, you've decreased the lifespan of your battery, number one. Okay? A lot of the people that are online will tell you to hook directly to your batteries for your output needs, for your 12 volt needs. Don't do it. Let's say you connect directly to your battery for your 12 volt needs. You get home, you park your RV, say in a garage, something like that. You've got no light. So you've got no charge coming from your solar setup. But you happen to leave your cooler running, okay? Your refrigerator. Normally, if it's sitting outside in the sun, no problem. It's going to run 24/7. You're going to be generating more power than you're using, no problem. If you're in the shade or if you've got it parked in a garage, something like that, your solar panel is not generating any power. The item you have hooked up, say your cooler or lights or anything else that runs off of 12 volts, if you've got that hooked directly to your battery, you can kill your battery. Okay? And there's no protection if you're hooked directly to your battery. That means you can run it down to that magic number that'll kill it and it won't be rechargeable. So much for that. Now, for another requirement, it's not 100% requirement, but just as a safety factor and common sense, you're going to need a fuse or circuit breaker on your batteries. Okay? You never know when there's going to be a short. A wire can get pinched, somebody touches the wrong thing in there or shorts out something. You can basically cause a fire with a short. Putting a fuse or circuit breaker in there is going to protect you from a lot of problems. Okay, your equipment, a short circuit can blow out whatever you've got hooked to it. It can ruin your batteries, burn wires. You can burn your whole RV down. If your RV is inside your garage, you burn your garage down. If it's connected, you might burn your whole house down just because you didn't put in a little fuse or circuit breaker. It's also good practice to have a switch, a battery disconnect. They sell them in the marine shops. I can put a picture on there, but that's not required with this relay because I can use that as a switch also. Nice thing about having a switched battery is if it's not going to be used, if it's going to be parked, turn it off, disconnect it. That way you know you don't have a slow drain of something inside your camper, RV, or whatever. You don't want that slow drain. Again, you can kill a battery. If it's going to be stored for a long time, your RV, you may want to consider putting some kind of a battery maintainer or trickle charger on your batteries just to keep them up. Now, with that switch, you can disconnect the batteries and then connect a battery charger or a battery maintainer, connect it directly to your batteries just to keep them healthy while in storage. Okay, here's my box on the front of my camper here. My two AGM batteries in battery boxes strapped down. Here's what I wanted to show you. It's my relay, or I'm sorry, my circuit breaker. This circuit breaker serves as a 30 amp protection. I've got it on the positive lead of both of the battery pack. Serves as a circuit breaker and a switch. Off. Okay. I've just disconnected the battery. It's an on-off switch. At the same time, it's a relay. There you go. Here's another thing I've added. It's a switch box, basically. Gives me control over my 12 volts. This is not necessary actually, but it's convenient for me. This allows me to switch power off to different items, lights, stereo. Now it's got a built-in voltmeter here, so I can monitor the voltage. Right there is my fridge, power to the fridge. And this is power to the USB ports. I'm sorry, move out of the way. See, it's got two USB ports built right in. I can turn those off too. Reason being, I like keeping everything turned off if I'm not using them. Conservation of power. Also have a 12-volt cigarette type plug in here if I need it. Okay. Ordered this panel online. I think it was $12. Now, it did come as a flat panel. I did have to make a box to mount it to. I 3D printed the box. But it works fine. Now, this is connected from my load output on my charge controller. That's it for now. Thank you very much for watching. Feel free to subscribe. Hit that little bell for notifications for future videos. You guys have fun, and hopefully I'll meet you on the road sometime.